Then some Prushim and Torah teachers from Jerusalem came to Yeshua and asked him, "Why is it that your Talmudim break the tradition of the elders? They don't do netalat yadayim before they eat." He answered, "Indeed, why do you break the command of God by your tradition? For God said, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death. But you say, if anyone says to his father or mother, 'I have promised to give to God what I might have used to help you,' then he is rid of his duty to honor his father or mother. Thus, by your tradition, you make null and void the word of God. You hypocrites. Yeshayahu was right when he prophesied about you. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far away from me. Their worship of me is useless, because they teach man-made rules, as if they were doctrines." Then he called the crowd to him and said, "Listen and understand this. What makes a person unclean is not what goes into his mouth, rather what comes out of his mouth. That is what makes him unclean." The Talmudim came to him and said, "Do you know that the Prushim were offended by what you said?" He replied, "Every plant that my Father in heaven has not planted will be pulled up by its roots. Let them be. They are blind guides. When a blind man guides another blind man, both will fall into a pit." Kepha said to him, "Explain the parable to us." So he said, "Don't you understand even now? Don't you see that anything that enters the mouth goes into the stomach and passes out into the latrine? But what comes out of your mouth is actually coming from your heart, and that is what makes a person unclean. For out of the heart comes forth wicked thoughts, murder, adultery, and other kinds of sexual immorality, theft, lies, slander. These are what really make a person unclean. But eating without doing netaliat yadayim does not make a person unclean." Yeshua left that place and went off to the region of Zor and Zidon. A woman from Canaan who was living there came to him, pleading, "Sir, have pity on me, son of David. My daughter is cruelly held under the power of demons." But Yeshua did not say a word to her. Then his Talmudim came to him and urged him, "Send her away, because she is following us and keeps pestering us with her crying." He said, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came, fell at his feet, and said, "Sir, help me." He answered, "This is not right to take the children's food and toss it to the pet dogs." She said, "That is true, sir, but even the dogs eat the leftovers that fall from their master's table." Then Yeshua answered her, "Lady, you are a person of great trust. Let your desire be granted." Her daughter was healed at that very moment. Yeshua left there and went along the shore of Lake Kinneret. He climbed a hill and sat down. Large crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others. They laid them at his feet and healed them. The people were amazed as they saw mute people speaking, crippled people cured, lame people walking, blind people seeing, and they said, "Abarakah to the God of Israel." Yeshua called his Talmudim to him and said, "I feel sorry for the people, because they have been with me 3 days and now they have nothing to eat. I don't want to send them away hungry, because they might collapse on their way home." The Talmudim said to him, "Where will we find enough loaves of bread in this remote place to satisfy so big a crowd?" Yeshua asked them, "How many loaves do you have?" They said, 7 and a few fish. After telling the crowd to sit down on the ground, he took the 7 loaves and the fish, made barakah, broke the loaves, and gave them to the Talmudim, who gave them to the people. Everyone ate his fill, and they took 7 large baskets full of leftover pieces. Those eating numbered 4,000 men, plus women and children. After sending the crowd away, he got into the boat and went off to the region of Magdan. Then some Prushim and Zudakim came to trap Yeshua by asking him to show them a miraculous sign from heaven. But his response was, "When it is evening, you say, 'Fair weather ahead,' because the sky is red. And in the morning you say, 'Storm sky,' but you can't. But in the morning you say, 'Storm today,' because the sky is red and overcast. You know how to read the appearance of the sky, but you can't read the signs of the times? A wicked and adulterous generation is asking for a sign. It will certainly not be given a sign except the sign of Yonah." With that, he left them and went off. The Talmudim, in crossing to the other side of the lake, had forgotten to bring any bread. So when Yeshua said to them, "Watch out, guard yourselves against the hamats of the Prushim and the Zudakim," they thought he said it because he hadn't brought bread. But Yeshua, aware of this, said, "Such little trust you have. Why are you talking with each other about not having bread? Don't you understand yet? Don't you remember the 5 loaves, 5,000, how many baskets you filled? Or the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets you filled? How can you possibly think I was talking about bread? Guard yourselves from the hamats of the Prushim and the Zudakim." Then they understood. They were to guard themselves not from the yeast of the bread, but from the teachings of the Prushim and the Zudakim. When Yeshua came into the territory around Caesarea Philippi, he asked his Talmudim, "Who are people saying the Son of Man is?" They said, "Well, some say Yochanan, a mercer, others say Eliyahu, still others Yirmiyahu, or one of the prophets, but you." He said to them, "Who do you say I am?" Shimon Kepha answered, "You are the Mashiach, the Son of the living God." "Shimon bar Yochana," Yeshua said to him, "how blessed you are, for no human being revealed this to you. No, it was my Father in heaven. I also tell you this, you are Kepha," which means rock, "and on this rock I will build my community, and the gates of Sheol will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you prohibit on earth will be prohibited in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven." And he warned the Talmudim not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. From that time on, Yeshua began making it clear to his Talmudim that he came to Jerusalem and endure much suffering at the hands of the elders, the head Kohanim and the Torah teachers, and that he had to be put to death, but that on the 3rd day he had to be raised to life. Kepha took him aside and began rebuking him. "Heaven, be merciful, Lord. By no means will this happen to you." But Yeshua turned his back on Kepha, saying, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle in my path, because your thinking is not from human perspective, not from God's perspective." Then Yeshua took his Talmudim, "If anyone wants to come after me, let him say no to himself, take up his execution stake, and keep following me. For whoever wants to save his own life will destroy it, but whoever destroys his life for my sake will find it. What good will it do someone if he gains the whole world but forfeits his life? Or what can a person give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come in his Father's glory with his angels, and he will repay everyone according to his conduct. Yes, I tell you that there are some people standing here who will not experience death until they see the Son of Man coming in the kingdom